And welcome to my YouTube channel. So now let us continue the chapter acid, bases and salts of class 10th chemistry. In the previous video, that is part number 3, we have studied about the how the acid reacts with metals. So how acid reacts with metals, how acid reacts with metal carbonate, and how acid reacts with metal bicarbonate. Along with that one, we have studied about the lime water test, a test which is conducted to detect whether the released gas is carbon dioxide or not. For that one, we have used, that is, lime water test. So now let us continue the chapter acid, bases and salts, that is part number 4. So in this uh, video we are going to study about of acids reactions of acids with metallic oxide. So let us study how the acid reacts with metallic oxides. So what is meant by metallic oxide? Metallic oxide means when metal reacts with oxygen. A reaction between metal and oxygen will gives us metallic oxide. Now let us, metal in combination with oxygen will gives metallic oxide. Now let us study how the acid reacts with metallic oxide. So now example for metallic oxide: sodium oxide, Na2O, calcium oxide, CaO, magnesium oxide, MgO. These are all metallic oxide. Now let us learn how the metallic oxide, how the acid reacts with metallic oxide. So generally, let us write general reaction, that is acid reacts with metal oxide to form salt and water. Acid reacts with metal oxide to form salt and water. So now let us study these in brief by taking some suitable example. So now I will take example 1. So what is the general? Acid reacts with metallic oxide to form salt and water. So first equation ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, that is hydrochloric acid when reacts with sodium hydroxide. HCl is an acid, sodium hydroxide is a metallic oxide. So when acid reacts with metallic oxide, it forms a salt, that is 2NaCl, that is sodium chloride ಅನ್ನುವ salt ಆಗೋದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ what is the common? Water is the common. So H2O. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ H2 ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2HCl ಅಂತ ಬರೆಯೋಣ. What is the balanced chemical equation? 2HCl plus Na2O give rise to 2NaCl plus H2O. So acid, hydrochloric acid, metallic oxide, that is sodium oxide. So both of them react to form a salt called sodium chloride and water. So NaCl ಆಗೋದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ water formation ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Next, let us move for example number 2. So example 2 ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. So I will take hydrochloric acid, which is a salt, which is an acid, reacts with a metallic oxide called copper oxide. Copper oxide is a metallic oxide. Hydrochloric acid is an acid. When both of them react with each other, it forms CuCl2. This CuCl2 is called copper chloride and the common is water. ಈ ಕಾಪರ್ ಕ್ಲೋರೈಡ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, it is blue green in color. What is the color of the copper chloride? So copper chloride is blue green in color. And what is the color of the copper oxide? So copper oxide is black in color. So copper oxide is black in color and copper chloride is blue green in color. This HCl, which is an acid, reacts with a metallic oxide called copper oxide, which is black in color, to form a blue green color called blue green salt called copper chloride and water. So this is the second example. Then I will take one more example, example 3. So in example 3 I will take that is H2SO4, which is called as sulfuric acid. This sulfuric acid reacts with sodium oxide. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಸಿಡ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ಆಸಿಡ್, ಇದು ಮೆಟಾಲಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೆಟಾಲಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್. The name of the salt is Na2SO4. Na2SO4 is called sodium sulfate. Along with the sodium sulfate it forms water. Sodium sulfate is a salt, H2O is water, Na2O is metallic oxide, H2SO4 is acid. Acid reacts with metallic oxide to form salt and water. Then I will take one more example for the reaction of acid with metallic oxide, that is H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid, reacts with a metallic oxide called calcium oxide to form calcium sulfate, which is a salt and water. So H2SO4, which is an acid, reacts with a metallic oxide called calcium oxide to form calcium sulfate, which is a salt and water. So these are the four examples that you can easily keep it in your mind for the reaction between acid and metallic oxide. So this is about the reaction between acid and metallic oxide. Now let us learn the next reaction is the reaction of acid with base. So next type of reaction is called reaction of acid with base. So now let us learn what happens when acid reacts with base. So reaction of acid with base is also called as neutralization reaction. So what is neutralization reaction? A reaction of acid with base is called as neutralization reaction. What is neutralization reaction? A reaction of acid with base. Now let us write what is the reaction between acid and base. So acid reacts with base. Acid to base ಜೊತೆಗೆ react ಆಗುತ್ತೆ to form salt. Along with the salt it forms water. So acid reacts with base to form salt and water. A reaction in which acid reacts with base to form salt and water, or a reaction between acid and base to form salt and water, is called as neutralization reaction. So example na ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. So example is HCl, which is an acid, NaOH, which is a base. ಇದು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಟು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಎ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಕ್ಲೋರೈಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. NaHCl plus NaOH give rise to NaCl plus H2O. This is salt. HCl is an acid. Sodium hydroxide is a base. NaCl is a sodium chloride, that is salt and water. Reaction between acid and base to form salt and water is called as neutralization reaction. So this is the first example. So let us take one more example. So in the second example I will take sulfuric acid, H2SO4, reacts with sodium hydroxide, that is base, to form salt and water. Here it forms a salt called sodium sulfate and water. So H2SO4, which is an acid, sodium hydroxide, which is a base, a reaction between acid and base to form salt and water. So here the name of the salt is called sodium sulfate. So sodium sulfate is a salt. So sodium sulfate another salt. So now let us take one more example. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಒಂದು 3-4 ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ನ ಬರೀತೀನಿ, ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಕ್ಲೋರಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ reacts with potassium hydroxide, which is a base. Hydrochloric acid is an acid, reacts with a base called potassium hydroxide to form 2KCl, that is potassium chloride plus water, 2H2O. So HCl, which is an acid, KOH, which is a base, KCl, it is a salt. Reaction between acid and base to form salt and water is called as neutralization reaction. What is neutralization reaction? A reaction between acid and base to form salt and water. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ನೋಟ್ನ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಸೊ ನೋಟ್ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ neutralization reaction is a exothermic reaction. Already in the first chapter, that is chemical reactions and equation, in that one we have studied what is exothermic reaction. A reaction in which energy is released. ಯಾವ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಅದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸೋಥರ್ಮಿಕ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಿ, ಹೈಡ್ರೋಕ್ಲೋರಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ವೆನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಹೈಡ್ರಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ಆಸಿಡ್ ಬೇಸು. ಎ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬೇಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಟ್ ಲಿಬರೇಟ್ಸ್ ಈಟ್. ಈಟನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇಟ್ ರಿಲೀಸಸ್ ಈಟ್. ಅದೇ ತರ ಸಲ್ಫ್ಯೂರಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ವೆನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಹೈಡ್ರಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ ಒನ್ ಇಟ್ ರಿಲೀಸಸ್ ಈಟ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, hydrochloric acid when reacts with potassium hydroxide it forms a salt called potassium chloride, and water along with that one it liberates heat. Since energy is released in the form of heat, neutralization reaction is called exothermic reaction. Exam nalli question kelbodu, is neutralization is an exothermic reaction or endothermic reaction? ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಎಕ್ಸೋಥರ್ಮಿಕ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೀಟ್. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸೋಥರ್ಮಿಕ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟನ್ನ ನಾವು ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಸಿಡ್. ಸೊ ಆಸಿಡ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸಿಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೆಟಲ್, reaction of acid with metal carbonate, reaction of acid with metal bicarbonate, reaction of acid with metallic oxide, reaction of acid with base. So istunnu ನಾವು we have studied under acid. acid ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವು. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅದು ಯಾವುದಪ್ಪ ಅಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಬೇಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೆಟಲ್. ಒಂದ್ಸಲಿ ನಾವು ರೀಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬೋಣ. ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೆಟಲ್? ವೆನ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಿಬರೇಟ್ಸ್ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್. ಹೌ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ವಿ ನೋ ದಟ್ ದ ಲಿಬರೇಟೆಡ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್? Bring a burning candle near a released gas. If the released gas is hydrogen, then it makes a pop sound. Then reaction of acid with metal carbonate. So reaction of acid with metal carbonate gives salt water and liberates carbon dioxide. Then reaction between acid and metal bicarbonate also gives salt water and liberates carbon dioxide. How can we test that liberated gas is carbon dioxide? That is by using lime water test. Pass the released gas through lime water. If the lime water turns milky, then the released gas is carbon dioxide. Then reaction between acid and metallic oxide. Acid reacts with metallic oxide to form salt and water. And reaction between acid and base. The reaction of acid with base is called neutralization reaction. So during neutralization reaction energy is released, and therefore neutralization reaction is called as exothermic reaction. Now let us study about what happens when base reacts with metal. So when base reacts with metal, it forms salt and liberates hydrogen, as we have seen in reaction between acid and metal. Reaction between acid and metal also gives salt and liberates hydrogen, and reaction between base and metal also gives salt and liberates hydrogen. Now let us take example. So base ಆಗಿ ನಾನು NaOH ತಗೊಂತೀನಿ, that is sodium hydroxide. When reacts with a metal called zinc is a metal, NaOH is sodium hydroxide, which is a base, to form a salt. It form a salt called Na2ZnO2 plus H2 liberated. This Na2ZnO2 is called sodium zincate. So what is sodium zincate? Sodium zincate is a salt. So sodium hydroxide, which is a base, reacts with a metal called zinc to form a salt called sodium zincate and liberates hydrogen. This is one example. So this is the example of reaction between acid and reaction between base and metal. So now let us see what happens when a base reacts with non-metallic oxide. So let us study about what happens when base reacts with non-metallic oxide. So non-metallic oxide ಜೊತೆಗೆ react ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡೋಣ. So reaction of base with non-metallic oxide. So let us see what happens when base reacts with non-metallic oxide. So now in general, so base reacts with non-metallic oxide. Nodi non-metallic oxide ge example I will take carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. These are the non-metallic oxide. So now base reacts with non-metallic oxide to form salt and water. ಇದೇ ತರ ಆಸಿಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೆಟಾಲಿಕ್. ಆಸಿಡ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಸಿಡ್ ಮೆಟಾಲಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಬೇಸ್ ನಾನ್ ಮೆಟಾಲಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬೇಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ನಾನ್ ಮೆಟಾಲಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಟು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನ ತಗೋಣ. ಸೊ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಅನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಸಿಯಂ. ಬೇಸಿಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಸಿಯಂ ಹೈಡ್ರಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ತಗೊಂತೀನಿ. CaOH taken twice. This is calcium hydroxide. This calcium hydroxide reacts with carbon dioxide to form CaCO3, calcium carbonate, which is a salt and water. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ನೆನಪಾಗುತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಲೈಮ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ನೆನಪಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ರಿಲೀಸ್ಡ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ಲೈಮ್ ವಾಟರ್ನ ಮೂಲಕ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಎ ಇನ್ಸಾಲ್ಯುಬಲ್ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಸಿಯಂ ಕಾರ್ಬೋನೇಟ್. Insoluble, that is white PPT is formed and that white PPT is insoluble. So the insoluble solid which is called as calcium carbonate and water. So this is an example for lime water test. ಇದು lime water test ಗೆ example ಆಗಿದೆ. So calcium hydroxide, which is a base, reacts with non-metallic oxide called carbon dioxide to form a salt called name, that is calcium carbonate and water. So ಇದು ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So when carbon dioxide is passed through calcium, that is lime water, when carbon dioxide is passed through lime water turns milky because due to the formation of insoluble solid called calcium carbonate and water. So these are the things that we have studied under reaction of acid with metallic oxide, reaction of acid with base, reaction of acid with base, reaction of base with metal, and reaction of base with non-metallic oxide. So these are the things that we have studied here, and remaining part of the of this will be continued in the next video. Till then, thank you very much.